Mr. Taunton, even the most cursory reading of Christopher Hitchens' work establishes a man who didn't believe he had a soul. How could it possibly have been restless?
The title makes very clear. What I'm getting at with this is not that he had faith in God, but rather that, in fact, the title makes clear that I think the man was an atheist, but rather I'm asking the question, what was Christopher's faith in? You see, if Christopher's a lock, the tumblers don't line up with the atheist key. They don't line up with the God key either, but Christopher was defined by a lot more than his atheism.
Well, of course he was, but I'll ask the same question again, if I may. How can a man who didn't believe he had a soul have had a restless soul?
Well, actually, in a debate with Christopher, he did speak of a soul, and I made sure to point this out.
What did he say?
He said that Christianity continued to inflict crimes against the body and the soul. And I pointed out that from an atheist point of view, there is no soul.
Well, but Christians would believe that there was. I don't think trying to unpick the workings of Christopher Hitchens' brain is within the remit of either of us. It's a deliberately provocative title, isn't it? You're attempting to take a man who is famous throughout the world for his robust approach to atheism and his championing of it, and you're possibly attempting to flog a few books off the back of it.
You know, that's just simply not true, James, and it's clear from your question that you haven't read the book. The book is a story about friendship. It's a story about friendship between two men of very different worldviews. Here I am, an evangelical Christian, and Christopher Hitchens, a Molotov cocktail-tossing atheist on stage, and yet the two of us could enjoy a very warm friendship that culminated in two lengthy road trips, one from his home in D.C. to mine in Birmingham, Alabama, and the other through Yellowstone National Park, where we studied the Gospel of John together.
You read a book together. His friends say you hardly knew him.
Well, his friends clearly don't know the truth of it. I mean, I don't know how many friends Christopher took 13-hour car trips with, but Christopher did two lengthy road trips with me and spoke very warmly, publicly, of our friendship. I mean, this is on film, James. I mean, I'm not inventing anything here.
You bring his atheism into question. You posit the notion of contemplating Christianity, and your evidence is the number of hours you spent together in a car.
No, that's not the evidence, James. The evidence is a great deal more than that. And in fact, I think you're deliberately mischaracterizing the book. Rather, what I say in the book is that Christopher was contemplating making a number of, if I may put it this way, edits to his life late in his life. Exactly what he would convert to isn't clear. Christopher spoke of Protestant atheism, which was something that he found attractive. Would he have converted to a deism? What exactly to Judaism? He was deeply affected by the discovery late in life that he was Jewish on his mother's side. I mean, it's not very clear exactly what kind of change Christopher would make, but after 2001, Christopher made a very serious a defection from the left politically, and I'm simply suggesting in this book that this is a man who is he was a man of a great deal more complex than you would suggest.
Of course. How long before his death did you last see him?
I saw him 14 months before his death, okay. And that's actually very important because the suggestion that I am claiming some sort of deathbed conversion is absurd because, first of all, the book isn't about that, and secondly, I wasn't there.
No one has suggested that it was. It was merely the tone of your intimacy that I was seeking to establish. We're joined now by Lawrence Krauss, an atheist himself and a close friend of Christopher Hitchens. He refused to discuss directly with Larry Taunton the contents of this book. So I'll begin by asking you, Lawrence, if I may, why your feelings run so high on this issue and whether you have been mollified in any way by what you just heard.
Oh, absolutely not. I was impressed with your interview, but no, this is a man who was clearly trying to use Christopher Hitchens to take a relatively unknown individual and make money off Christopher's name, and I wasn't going to help participate in that by having a conversation with someone I clearly didn't think was worthy of having a conversation with. Is
it not possible that he was sort of auditing some of his personal beliefs in the last couple of years of his life?
Well, first thing, let's talk about the friendship thing, because I just had a conversation with Carol, Christopher's widow, about this once again, and she confirmed once again. So the time they spent together, Christopher was paid to spend time with him. I have to say that none of us friends that I know of paid Christopher to spend time with him. I think that's the difference between a real friend and a paid associate. Christopher was being paid to go have a debate with this gentleman. Now, the other thing is that Christopher was incredibly, in spite of the fact that he was seen as a bulldog on stage, in private he was incredibly civil with individuals and could have wonderful, polite conversations with people he desperately disagreed with. I know Anton Scalia, Justice Scalia, used to be a visitor at Christopher's house. So the fact that this person is confusing civility with intellectual sympathy means he just didn't know Christopher at all.
May I ask what his widow thinks about the book?
She's disgusted by it and thinks it's exactly what you said it was, an opportunity for someone to try and ride the coattails of Christopher's name. There's so many things that are ridiculous about the notion. First of all, atheism isn't a belief system like Christianity. It's a recognition that you don't accept the existence of God without evidence. And as Christopher would have said, extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. And the extraordinary claim that after 13.8 billion years, some deity would wait on this planet for hominids to develop for millions of years and suffer and strife, and then decide to reveal himself to illiterate Iron Age peasants is just so ridiculous that it would require extraordinary evidence. And moreover, the idea, if you were converting, what would you convert into? There are 1,000 religions, and certainly Christianity was not one of Christopher's favorites. He said the New Testament was more evil than the Old, and in particular, as Richard Dawkins there and I pointed out, that no one talks more about hell than Jesus, and Christopher referred to that kind of deity as a Saddam Hussein in the sky, who didn't mind just torturing individuals during their lifetime, but for all eternity if they disagreed with him. That kind of individual would, the notion that they would be sympathetic to that kind of silliness is just ridiculous.
Lawrence Krauss, many thanks indeed.